Welcome back to Animator Artist Life. Recently, I had to produce this cool little animation for a client and thought it would make a great quick tutorial on how to do 3D text and shapes inside Adobe After Effects, but with no plugins. So I came up with this simple animated project that will not only teach you how to make, color and light 3D text, but also take it further by adding gradients and any animated textures you want to the front faces. So let's get to it. So let's set up a new composition and activate the 3D render that we're going to use. So we go up to composition, going to go to new composition, and I'm going to give this just a name of something like 3D text anim for now. I've got a ratio of 1920 by 1080, which is HD, a frame rate of 30, you can use whatever you see fit, and then a duration of 10 seconds. Now this is the bit we need to do. We need to go to 3D renderer tab, and yours will probably be on classic 3D. You need to switch this over to Cinema 4D. Now this isn't using Cinema 4D the program, it's just using the renderer that's built into After Effects called Cinema 4D. Now we also need now to go to options, and we want to change your quality down, because you want it to sort of play back as fast as possible. Doing 3D stuff can sort of, slow the computer down. So when you're ready and we've got everything looking great, you can go back into this, change this back up to something really high, like up near extreme, and do your final rendering. So let's take this down to something like 10. Click OK, and now we're ready to go. Now you notice you do, if you read through this, you can sort of research this a bit more. You do lose a few features using this renderer, but you can bring a Cinema 4D comp into a classic 3D rendered comp, and then click OK, and we're ready to go to create our 3D text. So let's create our text by going up to our text tool up here, clicking on this, click on the composition, and then type in your word. In the demo I had the word game. You can use whatever word you want, in any style you want. This might be a corporate sort of classy logo, so you have a nice sort of sans serif font, or you might have a futuristic thing, but I just wanted to make this a bit fun for this demo, and we want to align this in the middle. So you want to open up your align tab. This might be somewhere else on your settings, so if not, just go up to window and align to bring it up, and I'm going to set this to horizontal and vertically aligned in the center. I want to move the pivot point. The pivot point in the moment is down in the bottom here. I want to move it to the middle just to be safe, in case we want to rotate it, this way and that way. So how to do this is you can go up to your move tool, and if you start to move this, you'll notice the whole text moves. So you need to click on this pan behind tool up here. Click this and then start to move it. Now you can snap this by holding down the control key, and you'll see it snap to the center, and you can snap it to the corner if you want to rotate from the side or anything like this. I've also got a little tool where I can just it's a lot quicker than going up here. There are lots of these online available, so check those out to be able to move your pivot point. Now we want to make this text a 3D layer. To do this, what we do is we go down to our layer here, wherever our text is, and this little box here, and you click this checkbox underneath, and it becomes a 3D layer. You can see the icon change, and you can move it in X, Y, and Z. Now to see this working, let's rotate this. To do this, you can either open this up and then go to a transform, or you can select the layer and just hit the R key, and it just brings up the orientation, the rotations. Now if I rotate this in Y, you can see it moving. It's now in 3D space. I can move it this way and that way to be able to spin it, and also in the Z rotation. So I'm just going to undo that, bring it back to 0, so just you can see it's now in 3D space. But at the moment it's got no depth, so this is what we want to do. We want to be able to give it depth. We want to extrude it in 3D space. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open it again to show all our options, not just our rotation. Now scroll down to geometry options, and this is what our Cinema 4D renderer gives us. It gives us these extra options. Let me just move this up so you can get more screen space for you guys. So here you've got your extrusion depth, your bevel depth, and those sort of things. So let's first of all give it some depth. Let's say you can just drag this slider to give it some depth. You can see it sort of changing, but it's from the front view. Let's type in something big, like 200, just so you can see it moving. You see something happened here. So how we see this is, let's go back to the rotation. So again, hit your R key, or go up to Y rotation, and just simply rotate this. There you go. You can now see that it does have depth. It's in 3D space. At the moment it's all solid color, it's just white, because we've got no lighting information, we've got no shadows and highlights. So to see this we need to add a light. So let's add our first light. We go up to layer, new, light, And we're just going to go with the spotlight. I've just got a white color at the moment, default settings, intensity of 100. And make sure you've got cast shadows on. We need the shadows to be able to see it, and click OK. And there we go, we can see our 3D text. Now we can obviously spin this so we can see what we had before, but what we're going to do is, instead of spinning this, the light won't spin with it. So we're just going to set this back to 0, and we're going to use our orbit tools. So if you go up to here, this one here, you've got your different camera tools. You've got your orbit, your pan around, and your dolly, sort of zoom in and out. So let's just click this, and you can click the C key to swap through these keys. Now if you click and drag, you can rotate your view, and you can also see the light is moving with it, which is a lot better way of previewing your 3D. And obviously we're going to move these lights in 3D space in a minute, but we're just going to explore more of these options. I'm going to hit the C key to sort of zoom in a bit so we can see things bigger. I'm going to hit the C key again to go back to the orbit tool. So there you go. At the moment we've only got one light, and we're going to put more in this in a minute. So let's just drag this back in Z space. Watch what happens. If I go up to spotlight here, you can either move it in 3D space here, or you can use the position keys like we did before. You've got your X, Y, and Z. So if I move Z, it's the same. And as I pan back, you can see it gives it more light. And as I get closer, you can see it sort of feathering in. So this is sort of like real 3D geometry here. Okay, now let's just have a look, go back to our text, and just have a look at some of these settings, just so we can have a quick play and a quick understanding of these. Let's click on the text layer, and you can change the color of this at any time, even though we are going to color it later a much better way. If you just click on here, and let's say we just sort of chose this color, you can see the color changing live. Now what I want to do is so you can see these settings, I'm going to show you the bevel style. So if you go to bevel here, at the moment it's a very sharp crease on the edge, so we're going to go to none, and you can try these different ones. You can see angular. Let's just up the bevel depth so we can really see what we've got here. Let's do something like 10. There you go, you can see the bevel, it's very big, a bit too clunky, but it's just for this so we can see what we've got here. You've got angular, you've got concave where it goes in, and then we have convex. Let's have a little look at that one, which is the one you'll probably use most of the time. It's sort of like the nice rounded bevel edge. Now let's open up our material options. What I want to do is have a look and show you the different settings on here. Just have a little brief look at these. Let's go to material options. Just scroll down a bit so we can see these. So you've got a few different settings here. You want to get in and have a play with these. Now we don't have many lights or extra things in the scene at the moment. We are going to add some more lights, but this will give you a sort of general overview. You've got your sort of ambient color, how bright it is in your diffuse, but you've also got things like your specular intensity. And if I push that up or down, you can see that the specularity of the material gets brighter. So the more lights in your scene, you would see more highlights as well. You've got your specular shininess, which is down quite low at the moment. So if you pump this up, you can see that you get these nice sort of sharper highlights in the specularity when you push that up. So you might want to have a play with that, depending on what you're seeing, is if you're going for sort of something plasticky and rough, or sort of more shiny. And then let's have a look at this. We've got the metalness as well, so you can see it's not really realistic metal or anything as well, because it's just flat color, but you do get a different sheen, a different quality to the material. And then you've got your reflection intensity. So we don't have really anything that's reflecting into the scene at the moment, but you can change the reflectivity there. You've also got your reflection roll off, which is how sort of sharp and everything they will be, and how they roll off the rounded materials, and your reflection sharpness. So that's a really brief overview of some of the settings. Just get in there, have a little play. It'll be different for every single setting. And now you'll notice that looking around this, let's just go to the orbit tool. It's quite dark at the moment going into this. You can see into the G, but not the rest of it yet. It's because we've only got one light in the scene. So in this next little phase, we're going to add more lights. And this is also the way that we're going to color our text, instead of just having one single color. So let's start off by putting our text back to a white color. Select your text layer, up in your colors, just put this back to a pure white color so that we can color it now with light. There we go, we've got rid of the red. So now we want some different lighting, and this is going to be experimental. You can play with what you want. I've gone for a sort of purpley, bluey tint, and we're going to sort of do this with spotlights, and we've already got one set in the scene. So let's select our spotlight. You can select it here, or you can scroll up here and select your spotlight, and let's just see what we've got. You can hit double A fast to get onto the options for your light and change the intensities and things here. And we're going to change the color here to, let's go with a sort of at the front sort of a purple. But like I say, it would be good for you to just sort of experiment with this and what's best for your look. And there you go. You can see it already sort of lights our text purple, but again, it's all still dark, so we do want multiple lights. Now I'm just going to move this up so we can see what we're doing, and we can move our light into different positions. So you can either select the icon in here, you've got the X, Y and Z, and this will move it all together. You see what I've got here is you've got the main light, and then you've got the point of origin. If I select this little point in the middle, you can now move and sort of rotate where it's pointing at. You can actually select this part of the light as well and move it, but sometimes it's a bit finicky in this viewport. We're going to change this again in a minute. So you can actually go over to here, hit the P key for your position, and watch what happens. If I do this, then I can now position and angle the light in my X, Y and Z without touching the aim control up and down. So this is good for sort of getting, you know, surround lighting. In 3D we have something called 3-point lighting set up. We have rim lights and things like that, so it's a sort of same sort of basic principle. So we want to add some more light. So we've got our front light going, you know, straight down the front here, and we've got a purple, and I want to add another light. So you can either go new light, or we can duplicate this one. So we've got this as spotlight 1. I'm just going to close this so we can just concentrate on the spotlight here, and I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate, and now we've got 2, and this is going to be our spotlight 2. Hit the P key, and let's just move this out the way. In fact, let's just use this little X thing, and we want to move this over to the side. What I want is a light coming from the left, one in the front and one in the right, and then we can also have one in the back if you want, as well as the rim light. Now it's a bit hard to see what we've got going on in here. We can use our orbit tools, you know, at any time we want to sort of check our angles and things. But I like to have 2 different views up, like we're going to do it in a 3D program. So let's go to our normal move tool. I'm going to right click on the canvas here, and I'm going to go New Viewer. And this is going to open up 2 windows. Now I normally use 2 or 3 monitors, so you can position them off monitor and where you want, but we're sort of limited with screen space for the tutorial. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to Fit, and I'm going to go to Fit here so we can see both. Now we're looking through the default After Effects camera at the moment. If we go up to our orbit tool and move, you can see that both move because we're moving the same camera. We haven't actually created a camera yet, and we're going to create our own camera in a minute. Now on this side, I want to be able to view it from a different angle, from the top, left side, or a custom camera. So we're going to change this view to a different view. Now one thing to note is I'm using a 4K resolution monitor, and there is a bug in the latest After Effects where there should be a menu here so you can really quickly change between your cameras. That's missing. If you don't have a 4K monitor, or you have a normal HD 1920 by 1080 monitor, this will show up. It's a bug that Adobe know about, and as usual, we're just waiting for them to fix it. But you can just swap cameras just by using the right-click menu. So I'm going to go right-click, I'm going to go Switch 3D View, and I'm going to go for a top view. Okay, so now we can move our view around, and we can hit Control minus to zoom out, or plus to zoom in, and we can see what we're doing more. So now we've got 2 views at the same time, and you can even go New Viewer and have more, and you've also got an option to go 4 views at the same time if you want. So I'm going to go to our Move tool, and from the top you can see I've got a front light and the other light that we duplicated here, and I can move this around as we want, just to sort of get, you know, different views. And what I'm doing is I'm holding down the space bar, and then I am middle mouse clicking, and the hand comes up, and I can just move the whole canvas around like this. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my normal move tool, and we can move things around it just a bit easier in this space. And now if I select this, like I said earlier on, we couldn't actually move this without moving the whole thing, which is useful because we might want to sort of move everything, but we might want to just move this, you know, around in Z space and stuff, in the actual viewport. And you can do this. It's just a bit of a funny clip. I think you have to sort of, let's just have a little go at this. I'm going to select the light and I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to move over and I'm just going to move my mouse here, and there you go. It's kind of like you have to click and select near it to get this. And now I'm watching the left pane as things change. Can you see this? The actual game text is changing, but I've got control over this second light. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, so now we've got our second light. I'm going to again select our light. Sometimes it's a little bit finicky again. Here we go. I'm going to select this here, and there you go. You sort of have to be near it. And I'm just watching, what I'm doing is I'm lighting up the side here. Now what I want is I want a different color light for the side. So we're going to have purple here, and let's click double A again and change our color here. I want some nice different tones, and you can see this change. I want a sort of a warm tint. So let's go for something maybe yellowy here, and let's click OK and see what we get. There you go. Can you see this here, over here? Let's just zoom out here. And now we're starting to fill in this. It's nice. We've got a sort of a purple and then a yellowy tint here. Now I think I've moved the light too far to the side, and you can see this on the top here. So let's just zoom out and let's just create our other light for now. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to save as we're going, because you know when you if you don't save, you know, After Effects can crash. So I'm going to hit Control S or go up to File Save to save what we're doing. And let's duplicate. Let's create our third spotlight so that we can just see what we're doing, and then we can come back and amend things. So I'm going to select Spotlight 2, Control D to duplicate, and as you can see, this lights it up even more. And this one's going to come from over here. So let's open up our position key, or you can just move it by hand. I'm just going to move this all the way over like this. I want to angle it from this side, and I'm also going to move the whole thing together. You know, I do use a mixture of the two. You know, sometimes I do want to move everything. I want to move the aim and the sort of the cone that, you know, where it's pointing as well. So there you go. So now we're sort of lighting this up quite nicely. And for this side light, I want a bluish tint. So let's go double A again, hit our light color, and let's try a sort of warm, a sort of, you know, nice sort of sky blue. We can sort of change this again to see what we get. There you go. You're getting some really nice tints in here now. Let's just open this up. And you want to play with this lighting a lot longer than I have, but I'm obviously, you know, we don't have that much time with the tutorial and just want to sort of try and teach you all the techniques. There we go. So now you can see we've got sort of a nice mix of colors just starting to come in now. Okay, so now it's still a little bit dark, and what I want to do is I want to add something called an ambient light. So let's go to Layer, New, and I'm going to go to Light, and this time I'm going to go to Ambient Light. Now what this does is it gives a whole light into your whole scene, so you have to use it quite sparingly. So intensity of 100 will be too much. I'll just show you what that does actually. It will completely blow out your scene. So you want to put this down. Let's go to light options and let's take this down to something like 20. There you go. And let's just turn this off and on to see the difference. And you can see what it does. It fills in the cracks and the crevices. I still think that's a little bit too much. I'm going to go to 15. There we go. And I'm also going to now change the shadow intensity. Let's just have a little look around this. So now we're getting some nice colors. So you've got a purple sort of light tint going across here. And you'll want to keep tweaking this until you get something that you're really happy with. And also, while we're here, I'm just going to go back down to, let's close up these lights for a second. I'm going to go back down to our text, and I'm going to lower the bevel, because if you remember, we had quite a large bevel height just so we could see what we're doing. I think maybe something like 6. There we go, much nicer. There we go. Let's just check our specular shininess. Do we want it? I'm going to tweak this a little bit. That's a bit better. And I'm going to take our metallic down. That hasn't had too much effect, but it's a little bit better. Okay, and again, you're going to want to tweak this a lot longer than I have. Let's just have a little rotate around. So things are starting to come together now. That looks pretty nice. Now what I want to do also, the light that's coming from the side, I don't want the shadows to be too strong. So that was Spotlight 2. Double A to get to our intensity, or just open the options. and we've got shadow darkness. Now, at the moment it's at 100%. I tend to like to get this down, so you don't want the shadows too strong. Let's take this down to 60 because we've got an ambient light that is bumping it up now. So I'm just going to turn the ambient light up so you can see what's happening here. So if I take the shadow darkness down, let's just move this, and now the shadow darkness is literally set to 0, so you won't see it. And whack this up to 100, and there you go, the shadows are darker. So I like to keep this at around 60. You might want to change your other spotlights as well. Again, let's just take the shadow darkness down to 60, and let's just check that we are casting full shadows on the geometry. So I'm going to show you another little option here. On your material options, we've got cast shadows. At the moment it's not casting shadows onto each other. Let's turn this on. Let's see what we get. Let's turn this to an angle, something like this, and now let's turn on materials, cast shadows, just shoulder it to the side, on. Now did you see what that gave us? Now we are actually casting proper shadows. So each letter is casting a shadow onto the next one. You can see the little line down here. I'm only running in half resolution. If you look at this little setting here, I've got half resolution on. Now when you're animating, depending on how fast your computer is, you might want to take this down to a third and it gets lower resolution. You never really want to work in full, but if you want to see what it's looking like, there you go. It looks really nice in full resolution. And don't forget, we're still working with the Cinema 4D render in a very low resolution, so you can imagine it's going to be great when it's all set to full quality. So let's just go back down to half. Now you'll be able to see the shadow darkness sort of option. We've got shadow darkness at 100. If I bring this up down to 0, let's just see if it changes the shadow color. So we don't have much effect there. That is on that's on our front light. So let's keep this at 60. Let's try the one that's actually casting the shadows mainly, which is the one on the side. So you have to chop and change around. So we've got shadow darkness 60. If I put this up to 100, there you go. The shadows are almost black. Let's take this down, right down to a lower value, sort of 13. And there you go. Can you see the shadows are really light now? So this is going to be a matter of taste and your scene as well. And you might want a sort of light that comes in at the top. So at the moment our ambient light is off. Let's turn it on so we get a nice mix. There you go. It's a bit bright there. So now let's take our shadow darkness back up to 60. There you go. So I just wanted to show you all that. So you've got quite a mix of different options. You've got your light color, your specularity, you've got your shadows, your shadow darkness, and your ambient color, all sort of playing a part on each other. And you can get some really nice effects. Look, if we go to this side, it's more bluey. Over this side, it's more sort of yellowy and warm. And this creates a really nice atmosphere. So now what I want to do is I want to sort of, I think I may want more purple in the front here. So again, I don't want to tweak these too much because I don't want the tutorial to go on too long, but you can sort of play with this again and again. And we're going to go intensity, and let's just try to say 150. There you go, and it's a bit too bright there, so I'm going to bring this down to sort of maybe 110. And this is something that you could tweak for an hour to get this right. Different colors, different lights, different radiuses, different positions, just to get something that you really like going. So we've got a nice little setup here, 3-point lighting setup. I would be tempted to add another one in the back to get a really nice rim light, but let's press on for now. You can sort of add that in yourself, a little bit of homework to take it further. So we've set up our scene, set up our colouring, and we've got this looking really nice now. So now let's go on to the next bit, where I'm actually going to show you how to add a texture to the front of this, how to add a gradient, and how to add some interesting textures. And then we're going to go on to a quick animation. We're going to use our own camera and create a really cool little animation, and also how to add a 3D geometry with a shape in the background. So just a quick note that this text is still fully editable. If we go down to our text, if I close this up and go down to our game, and I'm just going to highlight it, and if I type in a new word, you can see that it's fully editable still, even though we've got it as 3D geometry. And also you can use the animated presets as well if you want, the text animation presets. So if you go up to Windows, Effects and Presets, and then this comes up over here and you've got animation presets. If we go down to our text, and then animate in. You can still use all these presets, you know, fade up characters, fade up, flip. You just sort of drag this onto the text just as you would with a normal text, and they still work with this. I just wanted to bring that up now because it is very useful. Obviously they will run a bit slower because everything's in 3D, but you can use all these expression ones, animate in, animate out, all these text effects. So in the little demo I put together, you'll notice we had this nice gradiated effect here, the gradient color ramp, but we also have this nice sort of pixel type animated texture. So we're going to go over how to do that and how you can just make your own and take it on how you want. Let's just close this down. And right, let's go back into our scene so we can orbit this around. We've got our text how we want. So the way we get our texture to appear on the front is quite a simple solution, really. We're going to actually, you don't actually color the polygons. The method I came up with is actually using a duplicated layer of the text. So if we go into our game text here and we duplicate this now, we've now got a copy on the top. And I'm going to just name this something like game front text. And now it's exactly the same position. Let's just open this up. What we want to do is we want to get rid of any geometry and beveling and things like that. So let's take our bevel depth down to 0 and our extrusion depth down to 0. And now we are left with just a flat plane, flat text. So if we look in our top panel, let's just move this over a bit. If we look in our top panel here, I'm going to hit the V key to go to the move. You can see if I bring this forward, there we go, we've got our text. It's on its own 2D plane. It's flat now, so I'm just going to move this back into position. I'm just going to undo that, and it's just in the front there. And what you'll have to do is you will have to pull it just a little bit forward to be able to see it. So just a few pixels this way. See that? So there it is poking out in front. Okay, so now it's affected by the light and everything. You know, it's a 3D layer as well because we've duplicated it. We've got this icon on here, and now if we orbit around with our camera, it will move with it. So we can apply any textures that we want to this. Now, if you want to apply a gradient ramp to it, you can't just have it as the text. There's something you need to do. We need to pre-compose this first. So if you click on your game front text and you hold down Control, then Shift, then C, you'll get up your pre-compose, or you can go up to Composition and then pre-compose in the menu. And we're going to go Move All Attributes into a new composition, and this is going to be called Game Front, let's see, Text Comp, so we know it's a comp, it's a composition. Okay, so now we're going to click OK, and we want to go into this comp here. So there it is. You can see the icon. It's turned into a composition now, and now it's white. Now if I orbit the camera now, it doesn't move with it because we now need to tell it that this is a 3D layer as well. So go across to here, go down to your under the little cube, and turn it into a 3D layer, and now that is acting like a 3D layer. Okay, so and as you can see, it's actually gone a bit bigger than we want, so we might have to scale this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the view here because we're eventually going to make our own camera anyway. Let's just go to view and then go to reset camera view, and there we go. We can just see back to our default camera angle. So let's just go into our game text comp first and just apply what we want to it. So I'm going into the 3D text comp here, and there you go, it's brought it up here. So I go into here, and you can see the problem here we've got is that it's actually rotated in here as well. Let's just open up the rotations just to check nothing's on. Yep, and we want to go to our toggle switch, and we don't want to be this to be a 3D layer within a 3D layer. So it's good that I leave these little mistakes in so that you know if there's a problem, oh my god, how do I fix it? So I like to leave these things in. So let's just click this, and we've turned it off. Now if we go out to our main comp, you'll see that it snaps back into the perfect position because it was a 3D comp within a 3D comp, so it had its own perspective. So here's our two comps here, our main one and our game front text comp, and now we can do what we want with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a gradient ramp effect. Let's go to our effects and presets and type in gradient, and it will come up here. We don't want the gradient white, what we want is the gradient ramp. I'm going to drag this on. We get our small gradient. And you notice there's a little dot up here and a little dot up here. That is the start and end. You can see it be affected over here. So what I can do is I can drag this down and you'll see the numbers change over here. So I can do it this way if I want by dragging and moving this. You've got your X and Y. Don't forget X is across and Y is up and down. And then you've got your end of color ramp. So I'm going to move this in. Again, you could do it here or you can drag it in here. So now we've got our ramp and we've got total control over it. We can even sort of have it coming from left and right if you want. And now let's choose some nice colors. So let's go to the black. So again, right down to taste. This is up to you. I'm going to go with let's see, a little bit of a purpley color at the top. And again, this is all editable. You can edit this as many times as you want. So let's click the blue. There we go. It's quite a nice sort of gradient there we got going. And let's just tweak this so you can get it weaker, you can get more blue in, you can get more purple in across the top. There you go, looks quite good. So now if we go back to our 3D text anim comp, it will update in here. So now what we need to do is just bring this forward in Z space just so we can see it. There you go, it pops into place. So that looks good, that looks great. So now we can get our orbit tool again and we can just have a look at how this is working when we rotate. There you go, it's looking really good. And don't forget, you've got your new viewers over here. While I'm in, I could actually switch this now to the, let's just do another save first. Remember, Control S to save as we go. So over here, I can see the top camera at the moment because we're in the same composition. We've got this one locked. If I go to our game front text, if I unlock this, we've got our game front text, and over here, and then I can lock this again, and then I can go back to our text anim, and now you can see that we can work in this one and see it update in here. So this new viewer thing is really useful, and I can also go new viewer and have another camera here. I won't do it at the moment because we don't have much screen space at the moment, but as you can see now I can go into here and I can select the effects here, the gradient ramp, and we can start making changes and you can see it. Oh sorry, let's just go back to this one. Sorry, I forgot to lock this. Hit the little padlock, then go back to this composition, click on it and alter the ramp, and there you go. You can see it sort of, if I let go, it will update in this one. So this is how you can use multiple views to do all these different things. I just thought I'd show you that. It's really useful. I constantly work. I sometimes have 4 different views open at the same time. So now I'm going to go back to, I'm going to unlock this again. I want to go back to where I was. I'm going to go to the 3D text anim because I want to see it from the top. Lock it again and back to here, and both cameras are locked now. Both viewers, sorry, are locked. Okay, so there we go. So we've got our nice gradient ramp on the front and our orbit tool. We can see this working. So now I want to add in this extra effect. I've added this sort of animated texture over the top. So let's just see what we can do with that. So let's go back into, save again. Let's go back into our game front text comp. I'm going to unlock this so we can go into it. And let's add a new effect. And here is where you can get creative and have some fun. Add as many textures as you want. Check out, what it's looking like, animated noises, all sorts of stuff. For this one, I'm going to duplicate the text because I don't want to add my effect to the base text layer, and I'm going to delete the gradient ramp of the text layer. So now we've got 2 layers. We've got the one underneath. If I turn this off, we've got a gradient underneath. And now let's go over to our effects and let's type in noise. Let's have a little look for some. Let's try this one. I think it was the fractal noise. So let's just go over to here, and I've added in my noise over the top. And this can be fully animated. If I scroll around the evolution, you can see it actually affecting the text. And I'm going to go to, let's see, fractal type, and let's have a little look. So I think I had a. Let's have a little look. So you've got dynamic. Let's have a little look. Animation preset. So you just want to really have a dive in and play with these. So I'm going to go to block. There you go. We've now got some blocks. I'm going to go back to basic. And let's just have a little look at that. Let's just twirl the animation. Let's just twirl this through. I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it a bit easier. I'm going to hit Control and the plus key. And I'm only on half resolution. Let's just put this up to full. I wouldn't work in full in the 3D comp, but this is just so you can see it. And now I'm going to spin the evolution, and just so you can see, getting some nice little effect there. So let's have a little look at this. Let's open up the transform, the complexity, and let's have a little look. So we might want to scale this up a little bit possibly. So let's have a little look. We've got scale here. I want quite big blocks. So I'm going to scale this here. Again, all done with taste. That is quite good. And let's try also to invert it just to see if that gives us a different effect. And this is all trial and error, real trial and error of what you want. We've got the contrast, so we can just have it really subtle, or you can have it up really sort of bright. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a blending mode, because obviously at the moment we can't see it mixed with over the top of our game, our main text. So I'm going to hit this here, toggle switches mode, and let's just try these different blending modes. So we've got normal, and you want to go through these and to see what different effects you get. Now, to get a quick way of scrolling through these is you hit Shift and the plus key, and it will just scroll through all the different effects till you find one you like. So lighten, that does look nice. Lighten, let's just remember that one. I'm going to keep going. That was a nice one. Overlay as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the overlay for now. That looks nice. And it's not animated at the moment. It's only when you scroll the evolution. So what we're going to do is we are going to apply a very tiny bit of action script. Now, it's not scary. It's something very simple. I'm going to go down to, you can either do it up here or down here. You want to hit the Alt key and then hit the little stopwatch, and it brings up this tiny little piece of action script here, and we are going to type in something. It's called times, and then times, which is the time symbol at the top, and then you're going to have to play with different numbers. So let's try 200. This is a different speed, and then as soon as you click off, it's affected it. So what we're doing is we are multiplying the evolution by 200 as the time goes, and now you can see as I scrub the timeline, it animates. So let's hit the 0 key to do a small RAM preview to check the speed. That's quite a nice speed. So now if you wanted this a lot faster, I'm just going to hit any key to stop. So now imagine if I typed in 800 and did another, you just get crazy animation, okay? So it's a very tiny piece of action script, but this is really useful. And now I'm just going to have a little play with this. I am going to hit the T key for opacity, and I'm going to dial this down a bit, something like 60, because we don't want it too bright. Let's have a little look. Nice, okay. Maybe a bit more, 70. Okay, that looks good. And I would like to have a little play with the effects a bit more as well, but you know, you want to just try this. You've got brightness, let's see, contrast, and the scale again. Let's do the scale. I just want it to look like, because it's a sort of game logo, that it's like sort of pixels. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, and again, you know, you could try all these different effects. After Effects is full of so many different effects. And now I'm going to go back to half resolution, and I'm going to go to fit. And there we go. So now we've got our game text animation, really nice effect. Now let's go back to our 3D text animation, and it pops in. There you go. And now you can see it animating over the top of our text. Let's get our orbit tool. Let's move in just so you can see this, and let's just spin around a little bit. Okay. Things might start to, you know, get a little bit heavy. Now let's do a little RAM preview to see what it looks. Let's press the 0 key, and I'm on half resolution here, and you can see it, the little green line building up, and this is doing a RAM preview. This is how you get to see your playback. Now I would probably be tempted to bump this down to sort of a third really if you want to work a bit slower. I've got quite a powerful computer, it's getting on a bit now but it shows its age, but this is the way that you can RAM preview to see your stuff. Now I've gone up to 2 seconds worth. Now if I hit the 0 key to play it back, you can see it playing in your viewport. So there you go, we've got the gradient, we've got this really nice sort of, you know, pixel texture, whichever you want to do. This could be any sort of effects, could be swirling, you could make this reflective, anything, just get creative with it. And that is how to create lovely little textures on the front. And yeah, so now we're going to move on to the next bit, and we're just going to put a little shape in the background, and then we're going to put a background color in, and we're going to move on to doing a quick nice little camera animation to just sort of get a quick logo sting. And I'm also going to add, I'm just going to stop this, I've added some sort of slashed little sort of anime style. It's really quick. You've got these anime style sort of slashes that go over the front, sort of speed lines, and this little glitch effect that comes over the top as it spins. And I've done all that with no plugins, so if I just hit play, zoom, it's really subtle, but I'm going to show you how to do all that as well. If you're getting value out of this video, I'd really appreciate a like. And also, if you would like the files that I use in these lessons, plus lots of other VIP benefits, please consider supporting my channel over on Patreon. It takes me a long time to make these videos, and I would love to continue to make more of these videos more often for you guys. Thank you. So you can also do 3D with shapes as well. It doesn't have to be just text. So let's just reset our camera a minute. So let's go to View, and then reset default camera, and now let's add in just a background color so we can start to bring our scene together. So let's go Layer, New, and then Solid, and then choose a nice color, but we can always color this afterwards actually, I prefer as well. So I mean, I'm going to give this a sort of bluey purpley color. Let's put this in, and then it comes over the top. You can see you just click and sort of drag it down to the bottom, and there we go, we get our background color. Now if you want to be able to tweak that color instead of going to solid settings all the time, I find it much more useful to just type in fill, drag this onto here, and then in your effect you will get your fill color, which is it's just quicker and easier to change. So you know, you can play with this. Let's see, something that matches our logo a little bit, something like that. We can tweak it again later, maybe a little bit purplier. There we go, that'll do for now. And so we want to add a shape in here now as well. Like I say, it works with shapes as well. So let's go up to our little shape tool up here. We've got our box, and if you click and hold, you've got rounded rectangle, ellipse tool. Let's just go with rounded rectangle for now, and I'm going to draw on our shape like this. Oh, you can see what I've done here by accident. So what I've done is I've drawn on top of our background solid, and it's masked it. It's not what we want. We want a new shape. So I'm going to undo that. Again, great to leave all these mistakes in here. Let's lock the background, and let's go to Layer, New, Shape Layer. Okay, so now we've definitely designated that this is going to be a shape. And again, I've got my rounded corner box set. We've got the fill, we've got white at the moment, and the stroke of nothing. You can set these here. You can go fill nothing or fill a certain color. So let's just draw on our shape for now. Let's go to something like this. Okay, and I'm going to drag the shape layer underneath our text, and let's just call this base shape, or call it whatever you want. You can actually even bring in, you know, logos and make them 3D. That would be really good. So you could bring in Illustrator files or draw your logo in here. And then I'm going to reset the pivot point to the center. Again, you can use the control key, or I'm just going to use my little tool here. Okay, and we've got this centered. So now we want to align it as well. Make sure horizontal and vertical aligned, and now it's dead in the middle. So at the moment this is white, and it will be affected by the light color as well. So you can see this in our top here at the moment as well. So now we're going to make this a 3D layer as well. Okay, and you can see it at the top here, and it's gone flat because it always defaults to the 0 position. So I'm going to hit my V key, and we're going to move this back something like here. And we can actually change the extrude depth of our text. It's a bit deep as well, isn't it? And you can see it working here already, but we want to give this some depth as well. So let's open up our geometry options, and we're going to go to extrusion depth and give it some depth. So that's 50, so let's maybe make this 100, and there you go, just so it clips the letters. I like that. I'm just going to move this back a little bit further, something like this, and you can see it's actually having an effect here. And now I also want to give it a bevel style. Maybe we go for something like angular. Let's just see what that looks like, and it's only 2 at the moment, so we can't really see it. Let's go to 6. There we go, that looks nice. Let's just go to our orbit camera. And there you go. So you can see this works with shapes. Like I say, you could this could be any shape. It could be something more complex. You could bring in your logo, which would look really good. And I'm going to go to extrusion depth. It's just a bit too much, really, isn't it? It's a bit too chunky. Let's go to 75. And let's just see what happens as well if we change the color of this. So I'm going to open up my contents here, open up the rectangle, and then open up the rectangle path and fill. And you can see the fill color we've got to white. Let's just see what we get if we give this a little bit of a color. I know the light is affecting it as well, but if we give it sort of a yellow tint, there you go, that looks pretty good. So if I, let's just hide a stronger yellow. That's a bit too much. I just want to give it a subtle overall yellow, just to contrast with the colors in the front. And let's turn this around so that we can see our light affecting it on the other side. There you go, it looks pretty good. And we can also open up the options as well. Let's just close down the content and open up the material options. We have cast shadows, which we've got off. We've got accept shadows, which is on. So I just wanted to check that was on. And you can also turn off if you don't want the lights to affect it. I forgot to mention that. It's pretty good. So you can turn this off, and then you'll see no lights are affecting it. So that's pretty good. If you've got certain geometry that you're thinking, oh, there's too much light on this object, you can literally just turn off the affect lights. But I want this on because I want it to be part of the scene. And again, you can play with your different materials and things, but I just want it quite just as a flat panel for now. And yeah, there you go. That's looking really good. So that's our background shape. So now let's move on to animation. Okay, so to animate, we need to create our own camera. Up till now, we've just been, orbiting around the default After Effects camera. So let's just reset our view. Let's make sure we're on this composition. Go to View, and then Reset Default Camera. So we're back to the front. And let's create our own camera now. So we go up to Layer, New, and then Camera. Okay, so we're going to go with the default 35mm. If you want more perspective and a sharper angle, you can lower this down. I'm just going to stick with this for now, and we want a 2-node camera so we can animate the sort of aim and the camera as well. So let's click OK, and we get our camera. So you can see over here in our top view, our camera's been created, and it's down here in the layout. So I'm going to just drag this up to the top. I like to have this on the top layer. And you want to make sure that you've got active camera, which is our camera 1. If you name this shot cam, it'll be named here. If it isn't there, use your little drop down. Like I say, I've got that little bug in the latest After Effects with a 4K screen that has stopped showing the monitor. Again, we're waiting for Adobe to fix that, but you can just literally go switch 3D view and make sure you're on active camera. Okay, so now we have our own camera. We want to start animating this thing. So what we do is we want to open up the position and the point of interest. So if you can hit the P key to open up the position, but I'm just going to open up everything for now so you can see it. So we've got the position and point of interest. Let's scroll back to here. And I'm also going to set my work area just to 2 seconds. So I'm going to hit the N key for the end. If you want to set the beginning to anywhere, you press the B key. I'm just going to drag this back. So now we've just got a work area here that we can use. So you can see our camera in the top view, and we can move it in this view or this view as well. So if I go up to my point of interest and move this, you'll see that the aim is moved to the left and the angle has changed over here. Again, you can do this in the X or the Y as well, up and down. And you can also move the position. So if I move the camera to the left, instead of the point of interest moving, the camera's moving and it rotates. So that's how we get our different angles. And you can move this in this view, in this view. I can actually still use the orbit cameras. I can sort of move here if I want, and you can see it update here. So you can use a mixture of the both, and I can also go to a different view. I can say switch 3D view, go to the front, and then I can move my camera in this view as well. I'm just going to hit the space bar to bring this down, and you'll notice I can move the camera up and down here as well. Okay, so use whatever you need to get your shot done. You can even say work in a custom layout. So I quite often do this as well. So I'll go into custom view and I'll be able to see a different perspective that I can just check everything. And I quite often have 2 or 3 of these views set up once. So I might have the camera in the top view. I might also have it in the front and work in multiple views. But obviously for this tutorial, we are limited on screen space. So I'm just going to go back to the top. Switch 3D view. I'm going to go to top again. Just use your drop down menu, which you'll get here. Okay, so now let's go and set some keys. Let's get some little animation done. So in the demo, we just had a quick fly forward and then a spin and then a move back. So the spin we're going to do separately. We're going to also animate within the camera, not just the camera as well. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So let's go over to here. Now I'm going to drop my resolution down to 1/3, and it's going to look a bit pixelated, a bit low, but it doesn't matter because we just want to see the movement and we want to work in the fastest way possible. And you can also, if you're still struggling, go back to composition settings, go to your 3D renderer, go back to your options and set this down to even lower draft quality. Okay, and then at the end we'll push all this back up for the final render to make it look all polished and shiny. Okay, so I'm going to drop this down to a 1/3 resolution. So let's set a key on our camera first. So let's set a key on our point of interest and our position. And now let's set this. So you can move it in both views, any one you want. Let's just try this one first. I want you to have a play to see what's more comfortable for you. So I'm going to pan back here. I'm going to pull back using this tool, and then we're going to go to the orbit tool, and I'm going to just sort of position it something like this. And you can see the camera in the top view as well, how we've got it angled and it's sort of positioned. We could move the point of interest if we wanted to. And I'm going to go to say 1 second in where I want to be sort of really close up now. So I am going to let's see, zoom back in. I'm going to set this back to 0 because I want to be in the middle, and let's just zoom in. Let's just see what we've got here. Let's use the zoom tool. Okay, and I'm going to use the slider here. I think would be quite good. You can see the camera coming across into the center. You see it moving here and here. And now I'm going to hit the spacebar again just to move this so I can work on this area. And I'm going to show you something else here. At the moment it's moving straight. You've got the option now, if I hit the V key to go back to my move tool, I can drag this little handle out and we can get nicer arcs. So instead of it moving in a straight line, it's now moving in a curved way. If I scrub the timeline over here, you get nicer movements. Okay? And I'm going to snap to this, I want to make edits here. If you're off and you make a change, you're going to get extra keyframes. So you want to make a change on the actual keyframe. So hold down Shift, drag the slider to snap back into there. And I want the camera to be up from there. So I'm going to hit the Y key and I'm going to drag this up this way. I want the camera to be pointing up. Let's see, we could move our point of interest down a bit here, or again you can just go to your pan tool and move this down. Okay, and I'm going to go to my orbit tool as well and just sort of move a bit more flat on. So I want that zoom to be sort of zooms in here, and we want to be closer actually. We want to sort of zoom right in on the text actually. So let's move this in here. Because in the little demo I made, it zooms right in close, spins and goes back. So let's do this, and then let's try moving this back down. So we got our pan tool. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to zoom out there. If you hit the undo key, it will undo your camera movement, so you might have to sort of do that again. And then when we get to 2 seconds, we are going to pull back again, get a nice snap back here to get the game logo in full view, and we might want a little bit of a turn on it as if it's turned. And let's have a little look to see what that looks like. So I'm going to hit RAM preview. So I'm going to hit the 0 key. Now this might take a little bit of time. I might even pause the video while it's previewing. You can see it filling up. It's going quite fast actually. And as it gets to the end, you'll see it fill up, and then it will play back for you. There you go. So that's quite a nice little move. We could make it a little bit snappier. I'm going to hit any key just to stop that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do easy ease. So this isn't a camera animation tutorial, sorry, because I need to keep this as short as I can. We can go into so much detail, but I'm going to highlight these, hit the F9 key. And what that's going to do is it's going to ease in and out on both sides. So instead of just getting a sharp curve, you get sort of more easing in. So I'm also going to, let's have a little look at our camera direction here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We could get more of a curve across the front. And so we've got more easing in. So let's hit the RAM preview again now. Sometimes it'll do it a bit quicker because it's sort of cached some of the frames, but not all the time. Let's just play this back. Let's just RAM preview. And there we go. Not bad. You're getting a bit of a jump in the middle, and now that it's RAM previewed, you can actually scrub the timeline as well. It should turn green at the top here, but here we are getting a bit of a bump. We could sort of zoom in here. Let's see what's going on with the camera. So we're getting a bit of a bump here, aren't we? Where it's not sort of coming back too smooth. Again, I don't want to get into too much camera animation, but if I click this little button here, you'll get the graph editor, and you can see the bump here. So I'm just going to select these here, and I'm going to hit hit the convert selected to auto bezier, which is a bit too much of a dip. So I'm going to go to try these keys. Let's see, ease in. You kind of want to separate the keyframes here, but I'm trying to sort of keep this a little bit simpler for you. So let's just have a little look here. You can see the sort of dip, the sort of jump it does in the keyframes here. But let's leave that for now, and then we're going to go on to and do our little spin as well. So let's just play this back. Yeah, so what you could do from here, to be honest, I mean, I don't want to make this too difficult, but you could actually go into here and go separate dimensions, and what that does is it separates off the X, Y, and Z positions, and then you can select these and go to Auto Bezier, and you get much more control. So you get these, you get a smoother. So I can just see the X position and just move that on its own. I basically separated the keys. I didn't really want to go into too much complexity, but it's something that has to be done, unfortunately. You might be able to keep and I can drag this, watch this, I can sort of drag this out to get a bigger arch. And then on these, I want an easing in. I'm going to press this one, and it's going to go up and ease in. You see that? So I'm just going to move this up for you, and I'm going to zoom in on the keys here so you can really see this happening. So this is a really small introduction to the graph editor here, but now you will get, in the middle you can see there's no jump in the curve. You've got your X, Y, and Z. I'm going over to here, and it sort of eases in, so we've got a nice smooth and easy in. Let's just RAM preview that again and see what we've got. And see how much smoother that is. So, you will have to get in there and edit the curves a little bit, or just stick to simple camera movements. But that is a nice little camera movement now. It's smooth, it goes back, we've got the in and out, we've got the zoom in. I'm going to stop that, I'm going to hit this little key here to go back again. What I want to do is, when it gets back to here, I'm going to, let's just move this up so it snaps back a bit quicker. And then we can have a real sort of slow, really subtle slow back here. I'm going to get the pull back, the zoom key, and I'm just going to zoom back ever so slightly. And what this will do is, now if I drag our work area to here, what this will do now is it does all the movement, but then when we get to here, it's just got this really subtle move back over a few seconds. So with this next part, I actually had a nice little spin in there. So we're going to add this little spin in there. We're going to do this a little bit of a different way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to spin the geometry as it comes forward. So we're going to spin the base shape. So we're going to rotate this around. I'm going to hit the R for rotation, and we want to spin this around, but we want the game to move with it. So we are going to link them together. Now you could do it the other way around. You could spin the text and have the shape follow, or the other way around. I just prefer to do it this way. So I'm going to hit the game, and I'm going to hit this little pick whip, and I'm going to drag it. It's really simple, just to parent something. So you can either use the pick whip and just parent it to any layer. So I'm going to choose the base shape, and now it's parented. Or I could have used the drop down menu and just chosen which layer. The pick whip is really useful to get used to. And now if I rotate the shape, everything moves with it. And as you can see, what we've done, we haven't linked the face text with it. So let's undo that, and let's also link our game front text to our base shape. And now when we rotate the base shape, everything spins with it. And what's good is the lights stay in their position. So if we'd animate the camera, obviously, you know, lights sort of stay pointing at the thing, and I want that change in light as it spins around. So let's undo that just to get it back to 0. And so when the camera comes up to sort of here, when we're close up, we're just going to do a quick spin. So let's set a key for Y rotation, and let's just go right to here, just before it pulls back again. And we want it to go, we want it to spin this way, or you might want it to spin this way, it's up to you. So you can either drag this down here and go minus, drag it this way to go this way, plus 360, or you can type in here 1, which will give it one full revolution, one full turn. Okay, so now the whole thing is turning with it, and you've got a little bit of game text poking at the back, but it's actually quite cool. And I'm going to select both of these and again hit the F9 key. You could have just right click and go keyframe assistant, ease to do that as well. So let's just see what we've got there. Let's do a quick RAM preview again. I'm just going to hit the 0 key to do a RAM preview. Again, I might just fast forward this bit for you. And here we go, it's filling up and it's just about to play. There we go. How cool is that? Really fast little spin, and you can see the bit, if I just hit the spacebar just to pause it a minute, if you can see this bit here, as it's just really subtly pulling back. It's a really nice effect, just have something keep moving, even if it's just a little bit. So that was a really nice spin. Let's just play that back again once more. Zoom. So the spin is very fast, but you might want that, especially if we're adding in our effects and our anime sort of speed lines as well. I might just sort of slow that down a little bit. So I would just sort of maybe take this down a little bit and start this a little bit earlier. Just fill in the gap. You can see when it ran previews, it only has to fill in the little gap here because it's done the rest of it. So let's just see what this looks like playing back. There we go, and it's going to play again. Nice. That's really nice. And what I would do here is just principles of animation. I would probably do a little bit of overlap. So I would probably get it to spin and then spin a bit too far and then spin back. So let's just copy and paste this keyframe here. Control C, Control V, and here I'm going to get it to over rotate. So let's just go back and over rotate it here. Now this is sort of basic principles of animation, overlap, you know, anticipation. So this is going to rotate around and then come back. So let's just see what that looks like. There you go, really nice. You see that bit where it sort of, what we just did, it sort of goes further than it does and then snaps back. Brilliant. So we've got a really nice little animation now, camera animation, a spin, everything's really dynamic. And so we're going to move on to some effects now. Hope you can stick around for this. We're going to add this sort of anime style slash lines over the top, and then also this sort of glitch effect that comes on. It's really quick and subtle. I've done that all. Again, none of this is using plugins. It's all done by hand. So let's get on with that now. So well done if you've made it this far. If you want to stick around to add in these effects, let's go for it. So let's do these little speed lines. So it's quite simple for these. Let's just close these down. I'm just gonna. You can, if you've got things open here, you know you can always go Control A and then hit the U key twice, and it will close it down. Okay, it will just collapse everything for you. What we want to do is we want to draw some lines on here now. So I'm going to go to my Move tool. I'm going to just zoom back a little bit, and we're going to draw some lines on. So we want to go Layer, New, Shape Layer, and this time we're going to go to the Pen tool. Okay, and we want a white stroke. And you can change all these settings afterwards. And we want to give it some width. We want a point size, and we want to turn off the fill, which again you can do afterwards. But I'm just going to do it here now. You click this here, not this here. Okay, to do that. And now I'm going to draw just a line going across. I'm going to click once and drag. I'm gonna, because when you drag you get a curved line, and I'm gonna click again and drag, and I'm gonna click again and drag. Okay, and as you can see, we've got a nice line there. And so I can change the stroke size up here. I can type in something like 24, or I can open up the options and go to contents and then shape, and then you've got your path and stroke. So if you want to change the shape of the path, I would just click here, go up to our move tool, and I can just select one of these nodes and we can move this around. Okay, just to zoom in here. And now what we want to do is we want to animate this going across. So for this, I'll just zoom out again, sorry. For this, what we need to do is add a trim path. So if you go to your shape, go add, and then go down to trim paths. And this lets us trim the path and animate that as well. So we want this to, we only want this to happen when the spin happens up here. So let's go to something like here. Something like that there, and we can also move this along and start our animation from here as well. So I'm just moving sliding the whole thing up. So we've got our trim paths over here. We've now got the options, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bring back the end. If I scroll back the end, you'll see what you get. See this? It's actually drawing it across. Okay, I'm going to solo this layer. I'm going to hit this little dot just to speed things up. And now all we're seeing is just the line, so everything's going to work a lot quicker. I'm going to hit a keyframe for the end. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to draw this on, okay, up to 100%. And then when we get to here, we want to draw it this way. So I'm going to hit a keyframe for the start, and then drag along a bit. And there we go. So we've animated it coming on. Let's just zoom in here so you can see it. We've animated it coming on and then off. So you get that really sort of like fast sort of line. At the moment it's just flat, so we're going to now sort of try and taper this as well. So we've got this option down here to let's see, under the stroke you've got a taper. So you want to have a play with this. It really depends on your style. You might just want a normal thick line like this, but I'm going to give this a start width and end width of something like 50 and 50. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, let's just have a little look. Okay, so it's still really perfectly wide at the moment. I think we have to add in some width, some length, sorry, as well. So type in here 50 and then 50, and there you go. You see, you'll start to get a tapered line. Okay, so let's just play with these a minute. Let's just check these settings. There you go. So if I drag the slider, you've got your start width and end width. So we want to take this down to, you could go down to 0, to be honest. And let's just see. And there you go. You can change sort of. Can you see this happening here? If I zoom in here, if I change my settings to half resolution, so you can see things a bit easier. I'm going to sort of play with the end length. Can you see this happening here? So this needs to be done just to your taste, or something like that. And you want the end width. Yeah, I would go with 0, to be honest. That looks really good. So now let's just. I'm just going to quickly. I'm going to hit the B key here. And I'm going to hit the N key here just to give us our end thing. And I'm just going to hit, there you go. Really nice sort of slash sort of speed line. Let's just go back to fit this in and just zoom out. So as you can see, that's a nice little speed line, and you want multiple ones of these now. So let's just call this speed line 01. And now you can literally just duplicate this, or you can duplicate the path. It's up to you. You can go into your shape layer, and you can duplicate this and move this up in the path, or you can actually have completely different lines, which might be better because you can then control the keyframe. So let's duplicate this once again. See what I've done? I've duplicated the shape. I want to duplicate the whole line. Control D, and I'm going to move this a little bit along the timeline to be later. And I'm going to hit the up arrow so it moves up from the other one. It's in a different position. I'm going to duplicate this one as well. Just duplicate this line as well. Control D. I'm going to offset this one as well and move this down. And now when there you go. Really nice. And now you can sort of go in here, you could say the second one, you could say, okay, I just want to make it look a little bit different. Again, again, spend more time than me on this. So now I could say, okay, I'm going to change the shape of this one. I'm going to move the path here. I'm going to have this one coming from more of an angled from the top like this. There we go, it looks really nice. So I'm going to close those down. I'm going to unsolar them so it's not just playing those, and now it's over the top. And I'm going to change the resolution back down to 1/3. And let's just do a quick round preview just to see if it's fitting well, if it's sitting well with the animation. Nice. There you go. So it's got a really nice effect. So you might want to also now. I think you could go thicker. You could maybe make the middle one a different width. So we could go maybe 36 on the middle one or something like that. You can really take this effect further. That's really cool. And you might want to add a little glow or something like that. Now I'm going to take this one step further as well. I'm going to put a real sort of drawn look to it. So I'm going to now select all three. I'm going to save what I've done. I'm going to hit Control Shift C. I'm going to put them into their own comp. Speed lines, 3 lines I'm going to put. So I'm going to move this. Now it's in its own comp. Let's give it its own color. Let's just give it something so it stands out. So now this whole thing is in its own composition. I'm going to solo the layer again so we can see it. Now I'm going to add an effect. This is really taking it further now, called Roughen Edges. I'm going to add this. I want to give it more of a drawn look. So let's up the resolution to half or even full so you can see it. And you can see what happens here. A lovely little look. You've got roughen, you can play with these. So you've got edge, sharpness. You can take the scale down to, you make it look like chalk. I like to go up so it looks a bit like inky. You can change the complexity. So now, look at that. It's almost like an ink drawn effect. There you go. And now I would bring back the rest of it. I'm on half resolution now at the moment. And now you might change the blending mode. So we could change this to something. You can hit your Control, Shift and plus buttons to scroll through the different settings. I mean, it is white, so you wouldn't get too much anyway. Let's just go to toggle switch. You got on lighten at the moment, and add is always works well because it multiplies the effect. And you might want to take the opacity down so you can see through it a little bit. I'm not sure. Totally up to you. So maybe 60, something like that, so you can see through it a little bit. And then you get this sort of bleeding over as well of the colours. You could try that. Everything, try as much as you want. So that's the speed lines. I hope you really learned something there. Now let's go on to the little glitch effect, and then after that we're going to tie everything together. At the moment we're going to color grade it, we're going to put on a vignette, and then we are done with a super cool game logo sting. So for this final effect, we're going to actually add it to an adjustment layer. If you've never used adjustment layers before, they're really good. What it does is it applies effects to everything underneath that layer. So if you go to Layer, New, and then Adjustment Layer, and there you go, you've got a sort of an invisible sort of layer that you can apply effects to that'll apply to everything, all your layers in the stack. So to do this little pixelated effect that we had, that as it scrolls back you get this sort of here, this sort of glitchy effect. There's a lot of really cool glitch plugins, but again I'm trying to do this so you don't have to purchase any plugins. So we're going to go over to our effects, and we're going to go to type in threshold, or just thresh. So you've got CC threshold, and I think it is, let me just check the other one, I think it is CC threshold RGB that we're going to be using. So let's just drag this CC threshold RGB over to our adjustment layer, and then it will come on top, and you can see you're already getting something here. And what we want to do is we just want to add just a little bit as it spins again. So we're going to go up to here, and just a real quick flash. Let's just change our settings. So let's just, obviously, this, let's see what we've got here. We want a let's see, you really want to play with this. You can get a really sort of drawn look. It really is, I'm really literally just playing here now, just to sort of try and get a sort of decent effect. So something like that might look good for now as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to animate this little setting here called blend with original. Okay, so first of all I'm going to set this to 100, so it's nothing, and then we're going to go into our settings here, and I'm going to key this. Okay, so I've made a key with blend with original at nothing, and I'm going to select the layer, hit the U key to open up our keys, and then I'm literally going to go forward 2 frames. You can drag this time slider, or you can hit control and then the left arrow. And here I'm going to go blend with original. I'm going to go 50. Okay, and then I'm going to here just have some fun. So you can see what we're doing here. We are sort of just turning this thing on and off again to get a glitch effect. I'm going up to 100 again, and then I'm going to go 2 frames down, and I'm going to blend with original, and I'm going to drag this down so we get another sort of glitch effect. 1 frame on, blend with original 100%, and then maybe you might be able to do one more, up 2 frames or up 1 frame, just to have a play. Let's go 0, and then maybe up 2 frames and blend with original again. Okay, so it really is as easy as that. Let's just see what we get. It's a very subtle effect, and I'm also on half resolution now, up from 1/3, just to see things better. I mean that's pretty cool. I really like that. And again, you just want to play with the settings. So we've got our slash lines. Let's just move this back and just do another sort of RAM preview, just for the first few seconds, just so we get a better idea where we are. And I'm in half resolution now, so we're going to see things a little bit better. There we go. It's all working really well now. Nice little spin, nice little speed lines, animated textures. Brilliant. And now there's just a tiny little bit of polish. What I would do is I would add a curves layer. This is getting into color grading now, but this is quite important stuff. So just drag your curves layer out to the stack or onto your adjustment layer. It's all the same. And then you might want to sort of tweak this to sort of get a bit more contrast in your shot. You could also split the RGB values so that you get different color values as well. I quite like to do bring out the blue as well. So then it's quite subtle. If I turn it on and off, you've got a bit more contrast, a bit more feeling. And then what you want to do is you want to add a vignette to this so that the edges are darker. So what you would do is go layer, new, solid, and you would add a black. You can do this a number of ways. Adding this over the top. I'll zoom out a little bit here. Okay, and then what I would do is I would mask this off. So get your ellipse tool and just draw a mask, just so you're left with the corners. And then you want to open up your mask, and you want to go from add to subtract, and then change your feather up to something like 250, 300, so you get a nice sort of vignette. The corners are darkened off. I'm going to fit this to view so we can see this a bit better. And then you can either take the mask opacity down, or you can take the opacity down here. Let's go something like 60, and you might want to change this to a multiply as well. It doesn't really matter. You just get a bit more sort of burning in, and there you go. It's literally as easy as that. So now we've got got a much better feel. We've got a bit of color grading going on, and now if I just put this onto full resolution, you can see how nice it would look when it's fully rendered. And it's a bit pixelated here because we still need to go back into our settings to do before we do the render, to change the cinema for the plugin draft quality up. So let's just change this back to half. I am going to do one last RAM preview for you, and we're going to check this out. I'm just going to hit the N key for the N, and let's do a RAM preview of the whole thing. There we go. So we've got everything working together. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. We've put a lot into it. There's a lot of other tutorials that show how to do sort of 3D text, but don't really create a project with it. So we've gone from being able to create 3D text and materials to shapes, to adding textures, to learning about noise and turbulent textures, lighting, and then we've gone on to animating, basic camera animation, and then even a little bit of color grading. And then I hope you've enjoyed those special little bonus tips about doing the speed lines and doing the little free glitch effect with no plugins. I'd really appreciate it if you could like and spread this, subscribe, give it to your friends. because it really does help me. It takes me a long time to make these tutorials, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. So there we are, 3D text and geometry inside Adobe After Effects with no plugins, plus a load of extra tips and tricks which I hope can bring all your animations to life. Again, I'll be giving away all these files to any Patreons, so if you want to support the channel, check out the Patreon page. Please leave me your feedback below. I'd love to hear what you thought. Tell your friends, give us a like, and I'll see you in the next video.